generally the consensus I've drawn is that North America is stronger in standard play and that Europe has a very good understanding and a lot better understanding of what the niche meta is or like the counterpick meta or just this other style of play.
Sure. Well, it's the second day of Rift Rivals. I'm joined right now by Dardoch from Echo Fox with coverage presented by Omni Slash. Talk a little bit about his run so far at Rift Rivals. So how are things going with Echo Fox? Because it seems like you guys are trying out different stuff, and you're kind of, it feels like the Echo Fox experience here at Rift Rivals is one more of experimentation and trying out different people.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, even our coaches said it. We like are pretty much just treating this like we're scrimming on stage essentially. So just because we don't have much practice coming into the tournament, and the tournament doesn't mean too much to us, or it doesn't mean too much in like the grand scheme of things, I guess, in terms of like we obviously want to go to Worlds and all that jazz. So we do take it as an opportunity to practice and as an opportunity to learn a lot. So we're playing versus a really formidable team that does a lot of funnel stuff. We're not going to ban funnel, try to win because they're really good at it. We're going to play against it and see if we can beat it, see what we can learn from it. So I think we have that kind of mentality, and it's different from a lot of other teams, and not a lot of other teams are willing to just kind of, I guess, sack the chance to just have like, NA's better than EU because, we know deep down if we played like when Super's out and these guys don't play Super, we're going to smash them in standard game.
Right.
So personally, as Echo Fox, we don't really care too much about losing to funnel because we are just really trying to learn as much as we can.
How much have you learned from the European teams? Because I understand that it's not just on the on-stage experience, but there's also a lot of scrimming going on behind the scenes against the EU teams.
Well, it's just they have a completely different outlook on the game. So obviously there's so much to learn even at a base level of just watching them compete against even other teams, not even scrimming them. So we learned just a base amount just from having them around and just seeing them play the game. So I think EU just has a lot better grasp of like when the niche picks in the meta are actually supposed to be used. So you see like when they actually select these Heimerdingers or, their Karma 80 carries or, they play the funnel strat, it always blows out the game, and it's always in a really favorable position where it's just like, wow, there's really nothing they could do. Right. And I think that's where NA is really missing, where they just kind of pick the champs whenever they want, and we're just like, yeah, this can't lose, it's too broken, you know what I mean? Because they played it in like solo queue twice. But EU actually like very well or very deeply understands the champions, and it feels a lot more punishing when they play it and when they actually pick it. But I do still think a lot of their, I guess Fnatic in particular, I do think that running no Marksman is unfavorable, and if Riot keeps buffing Marksmen like they do, I do think not having that option in your arsenal or in your draft is going to be very hurtful. But I don't think anybody is like well prepared or has a deep enough pool in the meta right now to actually punish people like that. But I do think it will develop like that.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting to hear this because I did a pretty long interview with Reckless yesterday, and he was really much on the train of like the opposite, right? Which is as time goes on, if the meta doesn't shift back in favor of ADCs, or if Riot doesn't make attempts to really buff ADCs, ADCs will just go away. Marksman will just go away because it is just way more optimal to play, like a mage or a tank or one of the 10 different interesting options down there. But you very much disagree. You're actually the opposite, where you think that those things will get phased out in favor of Marksman over time.
Yeah, well, it will obviously depend on like what the patch actually says. Right. So obviously if they don't buff Marksman and they continue to keep buffing and I guess fluctuating the strength of mages, then there's a good chance that mage 80 carry or mage carry becomes just a normal thing and Marksmen just don't get played unless in like a very niche scenario. But I do still think that 80 carries that normally dominated in the laning phase, like Lucian before, or in some situations 80 carries with counterpick support would still win versus mages. I still think those are extremely viable options. Like I don't think Lucian from purple side is like a very bad way to play the game either if you have a very strong marksman who is, known for winning lanes. So for example, like on Echo Fox, we run it with Johnny. Johnny's very good at punishing through the laning phase. And then also I could see people like Doublelift playing it. Like, you still see TL playing things like they still play Kaisa, they still play Lucian, they still play Zyra Khan. Doublelift has always been notorious for being very punishing in the laning phase, and he still does abuse and punish people in the laning phase as marksman versus these mages. And you do also see him have to show the depth of his pool. Like he did play Vladimir or something like that. He plays a bunch of mages in scrims too, so I'm sure he understands the worth of having Marksmen in his pool as well. And I'm pretty sure that Reckless is just wrong.
I'm glad you brought up the Team Liquid thing because it's really interesting. So we see you guys experimenting with different players and also trying to just learn, as you said, not banning out funnel strats against good funnel teams to try to learn from that. 100T, obviously doing their own thing too, playing some folks from their academy team. Team Liquid is just playing standard. They're like not playing funnel. They are not like mixing things up and trying different. They're just like, we're just going to play standard League of Legends like we've been doing for the past like 7 years. And it seems to be leading them to success. So what do you think of the fact that, like, one, is that a bad thing for Team Liquid? Should they be using this as an experience? Two, is it weird that like Europe, who has, we haven't seen them face G2 yet, but is it weird that Europe, who has these weird strats, falling to Team Liquid and standard? It's just an interesting situation for me. So I was curious about your take.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily bad coming into a tournament. Like, I'm sure TL doesn't feel like the super stuff is that strong at all. Like, I kind of feel like it just seems like they just think that playing Marksman bottom is the best way to win the game. So I think them coming into the tournament and playing like that is just kind of expected, because it wasn't like, obviously when this patch came, everyone was thinking like, what is Doublelift going to do? Not like, I can't wait to see Doublelift Vlad, you know? It was just like, how is Doublelift going to find a way to play Marksman? And yeah, the truth is he's just really good at Marksman, so he can just play it into the mages, and even if he's in an unfavorable matchup, he just understands the lane on a way deeper level than obviously a Marksman player playing a mage would. So even if he's in an unfavorable scenario, like, it's still winnable, or if he plays well, that kind of stuff. So I do think that, yeah, lane winning ADs are still fine. I do still think that TL coming into the tournament and playing standard is fine, because I don't think playing super is necessary.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of European players yesterday, and the general sense from them was, and they would say it just casually, right? They'd be like, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate we're over here because like North America's not very good and we have to go back. And like they just blast them, right? And a couple other guys even told me, like, oh yeah, like Team Liquid's pretty good. And maybe TSM, but like everything else is like not good. What is your take from playing the European players and the European teams on sort of the strength of Europe versus the strength of North America?
Overall, I would say generally the consensus I've drawn is that North America is stronger in standard play, and that Europe has a very good understanding and a lot better understanding of what the niche meta is, or like the counterpick meta, or just this other style of play. Sure. Regarding mage bottoms and just flex picks, stuff like that. Looks like the European tops also have mastered Aatrox faster, so that is another interesting thing. And just in general, I think both regions are just pretty similar in strength. Like, any one of these games, aside from, I think TL would just beat anyone, maybe besides G2, but it will just revolve around how they draft around funnel, obviously. I think funnel is still at the point where nobody understands it perfectly, so that every game is really winnable from both sides if there's a funnel involved. So I think aside from G2, any funnel game is a coin flip, but other than that, I think any standard game TL is going to crush for sure. And any standard game, I think Echo Fox and 100 Thieves will still do really well. Maybe not 100 Thieves because they're using their academy players, right. But I think in standard game, NA is favored for sure, and I felt like we were stronger, especially like ever since probably like playoffs, when we showed in the third, fourth place match in Miami and stuff. I thought from watching the games after that, our region was stronger in standard form.
Yeah. One of the reasons I bring that up is because I have felt kind of worried about North America lately, because Team Liquid, they're just chugging along doing their own thing, although they did not look good at MSI, which doesn't give me a great deal of faith in their situation. But obviously looking okay at Rift Rivals. Then you've got like TSM, which seems to continue to be inconsistent and weird. 100T just blew up their roster. You guys seem to be like trying out different things, and Arrow keeps having you guys funnel. You keep funneling those funnels into losses for the wins for the other team. Like, I'm just watching at ALCS, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And even Team Liquid, who's supposed to be, is like going off and losing to Golden Guardians. Granted, Peter was on Vlad, but like it's just a weird time for me to watch NALCS, because I'm like, is any of this good? Like, are any of these teams, they're just all running around and fighting each other in weird ways? So, but you think I shouldn't be concerned?
Yeah, I don't think you guys should be necessarily concerned, although it does look pretty XD right now in the region for sure. We are really, it is just the product of us being in a region that is obviously a lot more relaxed in terms of like, I guess, testing stuff out or just having like a more open-minded idea of just like how to play the game. Like, I'm sure, like in the past couple years, like NA was all about just like focusing on what is LCK playing. You know what I mean? Just like copying it in scrim, seeing what you can play around it, and it would just focus on that. But now, especially because of like the huge patch that came before the season started, it just feels like everyone, for the first time, every region is just kind of taking their own take on the game, because they saw like when LCK started, the first game of LCK was like Master Yi Tard versus Karthus Nunu, and everybody was really like, wow, it's going to be a Fiesta patch, huh? Yeah. And then, yeah, I think it's, just really cool.
So you're enjoying it?
Yeah, I think it's really good. I don't think anybody should be concerned. Everyone is just learning the game. Okay. Trust me, they're just learning the game.
Okay. Because it's been scary, and I've been like, are these guys learning anything? Because I feel like sometimes they're not. Is there anything that you would say to any of the fans out there?
Stick with us. Echo Fox is definitely Rift Rivals has not been our best showing for sure, but there's some good spots in the gameplay for sure. There's a lot of just look for the light in the Fiesta is all I'll say to the fans. We're gonna keep trying to perform well and keep improving towards our goal, which is Worlds and playoffs. So hopefully our poor performance or kind of underperforming performance is not too hard for you guys to take.
Okay, thank you so much, Dardoch, for the interview. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. Thanks so much to OmniSlash for their support of my Rift Rivals coverage. I also want to say, by the way, that I have a Twitch channel. I stream on that. If you guys go follow that, that'd be super cool. And by the way, as I film this, I'm less than 500 subs away from 150,000 subs on my YouTube channel. So if you sub, that can super help me out too, because it's like a pretty cool milestone. So if you could help me out, that would be cool. Thanks so much.